all of the years I spent so much time like unqualifying myself when God was actually trying to qualify me. And so like I was just like, it's you, like the desires are there for a reason. The process is there for a reason, and be open to it.
Welcome to the Creators Loft podcast, the space for creatives who aren't just dreamers, but doers, where storytelling, faith, and creativity meet. Here we dive deep into the minds of artists, entrepreneurs, thinkers who are changing the world with their art. I'm your host, Justice. Let's get into the conversation. Welcome back to the Creators Loft podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Carra. I was going to call you Carra Roots, but I'm like, does she want her whole name?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so tell the people who you are and what it is that you do.
So yeah, my name is Carra Roots. I am a multi-passionate believer. I have to say that. So I do a whole lot of things. My business is in marketing, but I love God, so I do like ministry. I am a creative at heart. I make things, so just a ton of things.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and you forgot to mention photographer, because you are absolutely a photographer.
I am a photographer, but I am like getting away from it. Like, well, as far as business wise, I will say that. Like business wise, I'm just like, oh, now I get somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, photographer, videographer now a little bit. So yeah.
Okay, business owner.
You know what I'm saying? It's just so much. It's like when you say multi-passionate, it's like I literally just say that because it's a list.
A list of things.
Yeah. Of things. So yeah.
Is there like one in particular that you're like, is there a hierarchy to the things?
I think when I was growing up, like I always tell God, like I always would be good at making somebody else look good. So like that's marketing, I guess, is kind of that avenue for me, or like personal branding, helping people in that area.
Okay.
Just because that's a passion.
We
I'm
have
just
that
like,
in common. Yeah.
Like, I want to help you.
Yeah.
So ministry helps, and but ministry is always like up top too.
You said ministry? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's start with that. Like your faith, because what I enjoy about you is how you intersect your faith with your creativity. And it's something that at first I was scared to do, because I'm like, I don't want to be too Jesus, but then like scare people away. So tell me, was there anything challenging about when you started to, invite God into your creative process, and like, what does that actually look like with your faith and your creativity together?
For my personal brand, I will say, like, I feel like it's always been there. Like, I feel like I've always just been wanting to make content about God, because that's just like, I've just always wanted to encourage people. So like, even when like Facebook was the main thing, before Instagram and stuff came out, like I always was on there, like just making posts about God. Like it was just as innately in me. When it comes to adding it to my business, it was like, some people don't want it in your business. Sometimes like, people might not want to work with you or something like that. They're going to have it a show. So I had to think of different ways that it could be incorporated in that side. So like, for instance, my business name has changed to Clay Solutions, but it was
Clay Solutions. Okay.
So it was created for you only. And so in that, it was like, okay, I guess this content, the things that I'm making for other people are created for you only, but it's also, this business is created for God only. So that was like a play on how I did it. I always had a scripture that always went with it. So like, work for God, work as you're working for the Lord and not for man. And then in my personal brand, or even I go even back, like Clay Solutions is even still bringing God into it, because people are like, why did you name it Clay? And I was like, ask God, where was he creative in the Bible? And he gave me the scripture about the man where he was blind, and God, he spat in the dirt, he made clay and put it on his eyes. And I was like, God, that was where you made a creative solution. And that's all I want to do, like for people, is create the creative solutions for them. So that's how I've been intertwining on my business side. And when I say business, like that's not full blown business, but and then my personal brand, like I said, just always been doing it. And then realizing that other people need that help too. Like, other people need to see it being done, talking about God, or just, being in the faith and being a boss too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even so, like with running a business, how is it? Because what I found challenging is when you start a business, it's a lot of businessy stuff. You have to get in the weeds of numbers and trying to figure out like a flow, a workflow, and all that, which to me kind of sucked the creativity out of the thing that I wanted to create. So how do you balance like that part of it, like the practical business stuff, but also being creative?
I think making time for it. Okay. I think like when you approach both at the same time, it can feel overwhelming. So like creating that space where it's like, okay, today I'm going to be focused on this. And then I'm also going to be doing it. I think sometimes when you try to like sit down and like create both of the ideas at the same time, it becomes a little like, am I doing it right? Or like, it doesn't feel like the same, like how I want it to do. So like planning out the content or like planning out the things. And then like, just like I said, like if you if you are operating it as a business, just think about like if you had a business, you would have somebody, you would give the duty of finance over to somebody else. You would give the duty of this to, you know, so even thinking like that, okay, I'm giving this duty a time period. Like, so that's how I've kind of had to flow with it. It was kind of muddled in the beginning part just because it was just like, oh my gosh, it's just so much period.
Yes,
that's
it's
so
a lot.
much.
Yeah.
But I think knowing that nobody knows what they're doing when they start, it's
you.
helpful.
Yes.
Because, I mean, social media doesn't help with it. Because you see everybody just posting and doing it. So you're just like, okay, yeah.
They know what they're doing. They're good at it.
No.
And it's like, you don't see the behind the scenes.
You're on YouTube University. Yeah. Okay? You're on YouTube University or you just trial and error.
Right.
And so just giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Through the process.
And you had a good point about like the flow. There is a different hat that you wear when you're creating a business versus when you're actually creating the thing. And so let's go back a little bit for like your early stages of being creative. What was the moment that you said like, oh, like I'm dope at this. Like this is what I do. Like that I'm gifted in this area.
I feel like I'm discovering that now. Okay. That is the crazy part about it, is because I've been in survival mode for so long. Like I've just done because I knew how to do. Like I feel like I was placed in positions that I never even wanted to be in or never thought I would be in. So like even when it came to PR and marketing, it wasn't a choir. And I mean, I've always been doing pictures and stuff like that, but I just did it for my passion. I just like taking pictures. Yeah. I've always had a camera in my hand.
Yeah.
And so my first like marketing thing I had to do was when I was in college, I was in the choir and the girl had left the PR position and she was like, I'm giving this over to you. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean giving it over to me? And so like I'm that you know, PR comes with graphic design and all the other stuff, and like it was the first time I had to put myself out there and have other people judge based on what they needed. And I was just like, what is this? And so that was like a hard thing to do because like I said, I've been doing photo shoots and stuff for passion. Like that was just my thing. And like if people liked it, I loved it, you know what I'm saying? Or so putting it out there and like having rules attached to it was really hard for me. So even in that aspect, so like that was how I got into marketing, and then other positions came just like I said, just people to give it to me. Repeat the question again. I feel like I got off.
No, you did good. I was going to ask too, did the boundaries that the job put on you, did that help or hurt your passion for photography at that time or your creativity?
I think it only hurt it because I was also dealing with insecurities in my personal life too.
Okay.
So I feel like if I knew from the like jump, like I was just looking at my work and just seeing it, but because I was a people pleaser so much that I just wanted to please everybody.
Yes.
That's how it hurted, because it was like I'm no longer making it because I like it. I'm making it because I'm trying to get somebody's approval of it.
Yeah.
And so.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
So like now it's like, hey, look, I gotta break all of that off of me because I've been doing it for years. Like when you're like, especially because like I said, PR and graphic design was something I had just gravitated to. I went to school for graphic design. I flunked it. I flunked it.
There's
and
grace
I
for that.
went into photography. And so like it's always had a hard spot with me for real. And I hate it. But you know,
you find your way.
You find your way out.
I love that. You gotta have this messy action till you're feeling around in the dark until you figure out like this is my thing.
Yeah.
So when you were doing that, after the fact, like once you started to really hone your skill in photography, graphic design, were those the only two things you were juggling at that time?
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess marketing too, because I didn't even know it.
In PR, that's it. Because I'm in communications, and that's when you also learn those business practices that we were talking about. How did you stay inspired, like during that time, or even just consistently throughout your entire journey with creativity? How do you stay inspired?
Stay inspired by, first of all, I have to find like what I like to do, like what keeps me like, you know how you always like, you know, you think of like staying inspired by looking at pictures and stuff like that, or like looking at other people's stuff. But I'm like, what brings me joy? Like when do I feel the most creative? And so like I realized that like going to like events where I can like completely unplug, like events like that don't require me to be a hype person. Like I could just sit there and just like, you know, so for example, they have music in the park at Dogwood Dale, like in the summertime and stuff like that. Like those are the perfect events for me, because I'm just like I could just go and I could be invisible and I could just like sit there and I can look and I can think. And so like things like that for me. So like thinking about what events kind of inspire me, or like what, like going outdoors, being outside, that just brings me peace and where I can find I'm the most creative. But then also just realizing like being around those other people, like having community where community, like everybody's doing something. They're like, oh, that's dope. Or like just talking about it. Cause I get inspired by like hearing other people talk about that stuff, do their other stuff.
That's me.
Oh yeah,
okay. I'm like, oh, okay,
and then like when it comes to like making stuff, like of course you're finding pages on Instagram, you're finding things on Pinterest like that you want to just like put in your back pocket, or inspiration things that you like to do. So yeah,
I do agree that like not necessarily doing your things, so let's say photography, keep continuing to do that will keep you inspired, but like finding ways outside of it, or even adjacent things. So for me, I love film, like movies and the whole production behind a film, and I never knew that how that would fuel the like photography or fuel storytelling for me. And so when you add all these pieces together, you're like a more complex artist, because you can pull on what you learned.
Yeah.
You may like painting on the side, or you know what I'm saying?
And you never even know it's there.
Right.
Like you never even know it's going to help you in that process. You're like, oh, I was just doing it because I liked it.
Yeah.
I call it like passion projects. Like even, for example, like one thing I used to do is like I do photography as a business, but I always want to do creative shoots. Okay. And so like I would just like hit my friends up. Like I would just go thrifting sometimes and just like buy stuff. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm gonna just buy these outfits, knowing I didn't know like who was gonna fit it or whatever like that. And then I would just have a friend, and like I would just place somebody in my mouth, and I would place somebody in my life, and I would just be like, so want to try this? And they'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And so we would just go out, and I was like, I would be having locations in my mind already, because I've just been at these random places. I'm like, oh, I always wanted to put like beautiful things in front of like old rustic things. Like that's just my vibe.
That contrast.
I love it so much. So I was already like, oh, that's a good spot. Oh, that's a good spot. Had this thing, and I was just like, a beautiful person, like people, period.
Right.
Like putting something beautiful in front of like that destructive look. I don't know. It just does something for me.
I've noticed that too, actually. Like that's like your style in photography, and that's where I wanted to go, because what I enjoy seeing on your page is your self-portrait shoots and you taking pictures of you.
Yeah.
There's this level of confidence that I'm like, she's tapping into something, because to stand in front of a camera,
for real.
and then still make it look just as dope as if you were behind the camera. That's something that I have not mastered yet. Like, how did that even begin?
I feel like I said, I've always had a camera in my hand. Like even with the the film cameras that we used to have? Like I would literally go around taking selfies. Like before selfie was a thing, I was over there like just taking photos in my room, just having that thing. But I will say that kind of series on Instagram kind of started even when COVID had happened. I remember like COVID had just really started, and I was just like, I want to do a photo shoot, and we can't go outside, so I'm sick of this. So I was like, I will just do it. And the first one was actually in my room. Like I had put some like background paper and stuff like that, so I just put it up like made like a fake wall, and I was just like, I don't like this. And so I recorded the whole process, but I was just like, this is not cute. Like, what am I doing? And then I was like, let me just take it outside. And so I had everything. I had like the tripods and everything, and I was just like, let's just do it. And like a lot of the stuff, it made it look like it's like confidence. I mean, the whole time that I'm doing it, like I'm talking myself down. Like I'm just like, Carol, what are you doing? This is stupid. Like, and I was just like, let me just hurry up and get through it. Like sometimes it's just like,
you wouldn't even see that.
I know I want the idea, but because to me, like even the ideas don't even turn out like how I want it to be. But I'm like, okay, it's just I tried it.
Yeah.
But and then you're not the first person that said they like that. I was just like, this is just literally randomly started. And so in my backyard, it's just like nothing but like woods and stuff too. So I was like, this is just taking advantage of it. And especially like in the fall season, that's my favorite. So like when the leaves are falling and stuff like that. So
it has that rustic background that you're talking about.
Yeah. And I happen to have these random outfits, and I'd be like, I had never thought I would wear this again, but here we are in the backyard.
Was it the thrifted outfits that you were talking about that you got? Or
no, like I would just have like, I was always supposed to go to events, and I think I just never went or something like that. So I would just like have a gown. Have a gown, or have like a nice little
random dress.
Like why would I have this? Okay. But I was just like, okay, let's wear it. So I've done it like in the leaves. I've done it, and besides thrifting outfits, I will also thrift like furniture. So I always had like a random chair or something.
Is that the cheat code to photography? Because I'll have this creative idea, right, for a photo shoot, and have all these, like I'm pinning everything on Pinterest of the things I want. And I'm like, I don't have any of these materials, but I never thought to just go thrifting. And to find like, I wanted like this ugly chair. I was like, I don't own an ugly chair, but it looks so dope with the idea that I had. I never thought about thrifting.
Go to thrift stores. I mean, a Goodwill. Just go.
Yeah.
Don't have no plans. Just be like, I'm just gonna walk around.
To see what's happening. Okay, let's put that down.
No, for real, go.
Because I'm like, dang, I never even thought about even just the clothes idea. Like you'll have an idea for a photo shoot, and I got the clothes I have in my clothes. Yeah,
and it's happened to work.
That's dope. So how did you shift from photography, graphic design to what you do now with the It's Been God business?
Okay, so I was going through a hard season in life, and I literally was just like, well, even before then, I always had told my pastor at the time, like, I was like, I want to know like spirits. And I said, I want to know spirits, and I want to know what they're attached to, what's attached to them, how do they move and stuff like that, because I know I'm called the deliverance ministry. And she was just like, huh? And I was just like, I don't know, this is a random desire I have. Like, I want to understand, because I also am into mental health too. So I'm like, how do these things combat with each other? And so when I was going through, like, I was realizing I wasn't just going through like a certain thing, like there were spirits attached to it. So I was just like, okay, the anxiety and this fear and this maybe it's like, depression and things like that. I needed to combat it in my mind.
Okay.
And so in that time period, I was like, okay, I know that scripture has to be the thing. Like, what am I going to do? So literally I have a video even of me doing it. It's just like, I was just like writing down whatever the spirit was or whatever I was going through, and I would just like have scriptures, just start writing scriptures down. And so
that came to mind, or that
I would just like looked up, or when I was doing my Bible studies, I would have them there. And so for those that don't know, It's Been God is the e-commerce brand, and it is a making products. And right now we have scripture packs and bookmarks that are Bible based. And so I had did it then, and I was just like, this would be so dope. But I just like pushed it off, because I was just like, I'm just doing this right now. Because to me, in my mind, this could help me further in ministry or something like that.
And you needed it at that time.
I needed it. And so, but I always like making stationary things. Like, I always like, if somebody was like, what do you want to do if you could do nothing else? I was like, I want to make stationery. I like making things with my hands.
Okay.
And I feel like for me, it's like a therapeutic thing, like doing the same thing over and over again. Because I'm a creative, and like, there's so many ideas that you have to think of all the time, or like you feel like you have to come up with the crazy ideas. Like, doing a stationary brand is something that's so consistent helps me.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, if I just have to cut this piece of paper, it's like, okay, I don't have to think of anything crazy. I don't have to do all of that.
It's
I can just literally do something simple. And so for me, it's like satisfying. But yeah, so that birthed out of that. And then like this year, God had brought it back to my mind, because I've been talking about it, doing it for a while. And even in like me coming out this last mental health thing, I was just like, I think it's time. Like, this is the time that needs to be birthed. And then he also just like dropped hints, and I started watching like a lot of people who have stationary brands online. I was like, why is this coming up so much? You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, it's time. Because literally, I mean, I'm telling you, I thought about doing it a lot. I had already had the products. I had already had the like,
that's
paper,
how we
all
do
the stuff.
We got everything.
And I was just like,
it's in your hands. Yeah, it's
right there. So I said, let me do it. And so this is how we got here. Yeah.
And you decided to launch it your 30th birthday,
31st
birthday. What was the significance behind that?
I'm in a season of like I said, I'm discovering myself. Like I'm just now taking off the people pleasing things in my life, and I was moving in fear for so long, and so I was like, Carra, this is something that you literally have the control over. Like, you can literally put this out. This is something that you could do. You have the ideas. You know what you want. You have the pictures boards. You got all that together. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, literally just do it. Like, why are you gonna keep letting fear like hold you back so much? And it's like, I know, for people who like might be seeing me on Instagram or like something like that, it's just like fear, like you deal with that because you always posting, you always doing. But I'm just like, y'all don't understand. Like,
you have no idea the warfare that happens. Okay. Yes, yeah.
So for me, it was like I needed to do this for myself. I needed to break out that mold and like just start to go forth in all the things that God has told me to do.
Yeah.
Because even though I've done things before, like I will always start and stop. You know, as a multi-passion person, you always want to start and start something. So I was just like, I just have to go.
It's something about the momentum of the initial idea that feels good to someone who's creative at a bunch of things, where you're like on this trail of like, okay, this is good. I'm putting all the pieces together. I'm creating the mood boards. I'm doing all these things. But the moment it's time to execute and put it out in the world, for me, is like the most vulnerable part of it, because now like I can be confident about it. My friends can like it, but the moment it's out there,
it's a lot.
You can't take that back. And the fear, the people pleasing, all of that comes up. But like, how does God play a part in you like laying that down to be able to execute on your ideas?
I feel like I had to learn to yield a lot. So I even did like even something this summer, like God gave me the charge to yield, because I feel like that's what I've been doing this whole time. It's just like, and I'll get 2 parts. So yielding and giving yourself trial periods. So
trial periods?
Yeah, trial periods. So when it comes to yielding, I always say like, we always go back to the scripture, write the vision, make it plain and something like that. But we also have to know that for the appointed time that it will make it happen. And so for me, it was like, Carra, some things are to right now, and then some things are for right now. And so like figuring out what that was.
Break that down.
Like, so right now you're writing it down. Like God is giving you the ideas, things that some things that just aren't ready to happen yet.
Okay.
But he's giving you time to like write this down so you can write the vision, make it plain, right? But then there's some things that's to offer right now. And so we have to start to differentiate like when that is or what that is. And so by yielding to God, and yielding to God is literally like, so say you're at a stoplight. I mean, you're at a yield sign on the street, right? You know you have to like slow down, look, be cautious and stuff like that. And so that's literally what it's doing. It's like, okay, God, I'm not fully stopping the idea and stuff like that, but I'm just checking in with you. Like, what do you say? Like, is something coming? Should I not? And so that's what yielding is. Like, literally just letting God know your desire to do something, but also being willing to tell him, like, like, hey, you might need to stop right now, or hey, you can go now. And so like doing that. So that's what happens when you have to write it now, or if it's for right now. And so there's like some things that you can think about, like, if you are, if there's a desire that you have to do it, but there's also a need for it, because some things you can have, like, if for real, It's Been God, which is the e-commerce brand, like, it was a good idea. I could have done it right there, but was it a need for it? But like now, since mental health is such a hot topic, because so many people are now trying to like fight these things, there are other options that people are trying that's not God. I'm just like, now it's a need for it right now. You know what I'm saying? It's a need for that. So like having to identify that, and then also like when I say give yourself trial periods, like thinking about like you give a trial period for Netflix, you give a trial period for anything that you want to do out there. But when it comes to yourself, it tears down our self confidence and like our makes us insecure, because like you said, when you put yourself out there, it's out there. Yeah. But then like you have to know you can give yourself a trial period. You can give yourself time to figure it out. Like for instance, like I even had the podcast like after the altar that I was just like I thought about it. I did it because I was like, oh, everybody's doing a podcast. I'm about to start joining it too. Yep. And I was like, God, this idea's been on my mind forever. And I was like, it's just time, I'm gonna do it. And so I did it. I put it out there, and I was just like, God was like, sit down. I said, you're right.
Hey, sit down.
You're right. You're right. It's not done in the right heart. It's not done in the right timing. And it was a trial. It was a trial period. But to me, it's starting stopping. I'm always just starting to stop at something. And so like
we have that. Like wow.
But it's literally a trial period. And so like how you can combat those trial periods sometimes is just learning to yield. Like, God, is this to right now, or is it for right now? Like what is that? And we have to be okay with like, I guess like toning ourselves down, like toning our hype down for it until he's like saying ready to go. Because sometimes when you have like, you're like, oh, this is good.
I got it from God, so I have to do it right now. Is what I do. Like he'll give me an idea, and I'm like, oh, because you're giving it to me right now means it's time for it. And I love how you made the like to be able to discern the timing in which that idea needs to come forth. And like I like to think about it like when you get an idea, to have your hands open, because if he wants to change his mind, or if he gives you a piece of the idea and not fully, the full thing, you got to be surrendered to everything that's coming with it, everything that he's saying, all the details of it, because you think, not you, but we think that the initial idea came with all the details. He's like, I got more to say. You took that one idea and ran.
That one step. Okay, you saw the end vision and you was like, yep, got
it. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why I always go back to like counting the cost too. We don't have we don't learn to count the cost. And I think us as believers, because we always say, like God gave it to me, it feels like, oh, then all the things are gonna, like you said, gonna be added to it. But he's like, no, there's some natural things too. So I look at like, are you even able to do it? Like that's counting the cost. Like, are you able? Do you have the time? Do you have the education if you want to try to put out something that you aren't educated about? Do you even have the people around you that's supporting it? Do you have the finances for it? Like the
resources, all of the things.
That? That's counting the cost with it, and that's that's a part of the yield process too. Figuring that out.
That is so good. So like when it comes to your creative success, what does success look like to you as an entrepreneur? If you're enjoying this episode so far, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving us a review so more creatives like you find the show. Thanks for your support. Let's get back to the episode.
Success for me is, it is fulfilling my purpose. And when I say fulfilling my purpose, it's like knowing that I've helped somebody. And I know that doesn't seem the best, because it's like it makes somebody else have the power over if you feel success or not. But for me, like knowing that I've helped somebody, even if they don't take the advice, even if they don't, go through it, like that's exciting to me. I'm like, oh, I'm operating in my purpose. I'm operating in my God-given thing. That's what success is to me. And I always tell people, like in business owners and stuff like like that too. Like, you have to figure it out, because if you keep comparing yourself to like social media, what everybody else is doing, or if you even think about like companies that not even are your competitors, and you're just like, oh, I need to be here, like, you're gonna feel like you're failing all the time. What is the thing? And then, and I'll make it practical for business and stuff too, but like creative. But like, keeping the promises to yourself is a way to feel successful. Like, saying that you're going to do a thing and then completing it. And like, so with that, for me, a lot of the times, like, I think of the bigger vision and stuff like that. And I said, right now in the season, I'm in a season of simplifying things, because if I keep thinking there, I'll never like feel the greatness of it or the success of it until it gets to that point. And God is just like, but you're doing all this work in between time. Why are you not noticing that? And so even in me like saying like, okay, maybe for instance, I want to put out a project, but like, I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, I have to have the mics and stuff like that. But he's just like, okay, but what if you just have a camera? And what if you just sit in front of it? You know what I'm saying? So you're like simplifying the thing and saying like, oh, my goal isn't to have like 10 million viewers, but my goal is to actually post a video. Like, we think about the highest thing first, and it's just like, why can't that be your first goal? Just posting a video,
because it's rooted in the comparison. The only way this video or this thing could be successful if it looks like what I see on Instagram. And so even how I thought about purpose before, I used to think it was, you know, like it's attached to a job or attached to something that you're doing. But what God had to show me was that purpose is you just bringing value to every situation you're in. Any room that you step in, you have value to contribute, and you contributing that value is purpose. And so that can be as small as you talking one-on-one with somebody after church, or you know, showing up in a big way where, you know, you're doing this photography thing, whatever it is, as long as you are giving value in that space and using the gifts I gave you, then you're being purposeful, then you're being successful. And I had to do the same thing, like change my view of success, because I felt like a failure in a lot of my creative endeavors. And then you start stopping. You just like, well, then this ain't for me.
It hits you really hard when it happens. And it's like, how do you bounce back from it? Like, how do you say it? And then it makes you feel guilty, because it's like, oh God, did I not hear you? Like, it's just like all the things at the time.
Now I'm doubting, questioning. No. I ain't
got time for it at all.
So when it comes to, like, I know that you probably still experience fear now, but what is your response to it now versus how it was, you know, first eroly on?
Fear, I attack it with, well, first of all, I'm in therapy.
Amen.
I'm in therapy. I'm also just like learning to like talk through things. But then also like identifying, like maybe I went the whole day and I feel like I wasted it, because it's usually how it goes. Like, you feel that one time like thing of doing something, it's just like, oh, what is it? So like checking in with myself, like I journal, I write, like I ask myself questions like a therapist would. Like, okay,
give us some of them questions.
So if I'm feeling some type of way, I'm like, okay, so does this make you, for instance, even last night, I was thinking of, I was like, maybe a disappointment type feeling. And I was like, so do you think that God disappointed you? Like, I'm asking like this specific question. And I'm like, okay, well, no. And then I say, well, where do you think you failed at? Like, so whatever questions that would be helpful in like, not just a surface level, like, like, literally, I'm just like having a conversation with myself on paper. And so like, if I was dealing with fear, it's like, okay, so where did the fear come from? So what did God say about fear? And then like, you know, so what does the enemy do when he's like, what does fear look like in other people? And then how can you switch it over? What's the opposite of fear? So you can like, I go through that. Like, so I just can understand the word better, understand what it's doing to me better, because like, hey, we need to knock this out. We need to knock it out. And it doesn't happen overnight, but coming to the understanding, because I have a hard time putting words to what I'm actually going through. And so that's why like It's Been God has been helpful too, because it's like, I actually know, okay, this is this. Because for so much of my life, I didn't know what it was. Like,
you
what
like,
things
didn't have
were.
language.
Like, I didn't know, I didn't have language for like what I was doing or anything. And so once I get the name of something, I'm able to, oh, that's what I'm dealing with. Got you. Then I can eliminate it, because now I know. Because even the enemy, like he could be using things over multiple channels of our lives, and we don't even know, because we don't understand what's happening. For instance, one of my apostles one time, she was like, Karen, that's manipulation. It was about a friendship. Well, it's about a couple of friendship things. And she was seeing, because I kept telling her what was happening, and she was like, oh, this is like a cycle for you. And she was like, this is manipulation. And I was just like, manipulation? Like, what are you talking about? But when she was talking about it, I was like, oh, snap. That is manipulation. But then I was like, yo, manipulation has been happening in this area, that area, this area. And the enemy could have been just doing all of that. But because I didn't have knowledge of what manipulation was, he could do it and like with no effort. He didn't have to make any effort. It was me just like falling into the trap of it. Because he did that, it was just like,
okay, being deceived. Yeah, absolutely. And it's what you're talking about too, is like kind of when you get like language to some of the things you're dealing with through therapy, okay, because I'm the same way, it helps you, one, articulate how you're feeling in a more clear way, but be able to point that thing out, like bring it to the light and say, this is what I'm dealing with. This is where I'm struggling. But also in all of that, there's like a level of pause that you have to have, because if I find that when you're creative at a bunch of things and you're doing a bunch of things, you're going, and you're not having that moment of stillness for one, God to speak to you and you actually to hear him. And then for you to have that conversation with yourself and say, listen, is it fear that I'm dealing with? Is it disappointment? Is it resentment? Like, what is it really? But you won't hear that if you continue to move. And so, that's
it's hard for us to sit down. It's hard for us to be still. Like, even if it's just like 10 minutes, like especially when you have feelings that have been built up for a while, it's just like, yo, it's so hard to do it. And I even told myself, I said, Carra, even last night, I was like, Carra, you have to stay here. Like, you have to stay here. Like, I know you don't want to think or go that deep in your mindset, or I know you feel like you want to just hurry up and do something else, but like, stay here so like God can talk to you, like, so you can be here. And like, over the time, that's the creator for me. Like, even I brought creativity into my like time with God. Like, I will sketch. Like, I'm big on like reading the scripture, and then or if I'm feeling like the thing, like I would just like, like I have no fear. Like, I'll just sketch out. I like graffiti letters, so like I do that.
Okay.
But like that's the way for me to just even spend time with God, because I'm just like, it makes me calm down. Like, even if I'm not, I have worship music or something in my ear, but even if I'm not saying nothing, even if I'm not writing anything, like we're here, God. If you want to speak, you can. You know what I'm saying? Just even creating that time space.
I love that, because what it's showing people too is that your time with God doesn't have to be one way. Like, it doesn't have to be where you're on your knees, you're on your face, you're praying, you're worshiping. I mean, absolutely, you can do that if that's your thing, but like also like just being quiet and saying, God, I'm here to just listen to you, to hear what you have to say. And I'm going to be quiet, because listen, I love to talk. So I'll be in my prayer closet still, bringing things before him, but versus just the stillness and the quietness of, I'm here and I'll express myself in this way. I'm going to try that.
No, for real, do it. That. Paint, do whatever you can do. Like, I promise you, it's a game changer.
That is good.
And it makes you feel like, you'll be surprised how long you stay there when you do that. Because like, it's just getting over the first initial, like, I have to stay still, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like, whoa, I've been here for an hour. Yeah. Like, I've been just chilling. Yeah. Talking. And then now, like, after you do the activity, you might even feel like now you can write. Now you can read more, read the word, something. It's crazy.
Talk about how important it is to prioritize your relationship with God, as well as like all the things you're creative at, because you juggle a lot of things, I'm sure, outside of your creativity, like your actual responsibilities in life. And so how do you balance all of those things, but like prioritizing it in a way where God is truly first?
Acknowledging him in everything that I do. So that's what the scripture says. But also, God had to give me a revelation, because like I said, like when it comes to photography, like especially in the business realm, I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, it's just something I've just been doing for a long time. I'm just like, somebody else can do it. Same. But I was like, God, like I still like photography. I was like, I don't like doing it for business anymore, but I really do like it. And he was just like, okay. And I was like, okay, so what I'm supposed to do with that? But he was like, you're not multi-passionate because you want to be. You're multi-passionate for my glory. He was like, so you pick up photography when I tell you to pick up photography. Yeah. So right now it's going to start looking like, even with my ministry, more life, like it's going to look like, okay, we focus on families. And so like one thing I want to do is be able to find photo shoots or like family portraits for people. Because like, how many times do you get family portraits? Right. It's an odd thing now, or it's not off the phone. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I want you to start doing that. Just like think of different ways that you're going to do it when I tell you to do it. And so, like, even in giving yourself trial periods, stuff like that, just think about that. Like, God, is it the season for me to do it right now, or is it for me to right now? And he's going to tell you in those aspects. And so, for me, also, like, just prioritizing him, like, making the time for him, of course, in the day, like, quiet time. But then also thinking about, like, how you're bringing glory to him in whatever you're doing. So, like I said, when I'm doing the photography, if I'm not doing it for business anymore and I'm doing it for his glory, it's like, okay, God, if you telling me to do this, I'm gonna do this. Like, I know how to make, so somebody might know how to like do crochet, you know, scarves and stuff like that. You're like, I don't want to make a business out of this, but God, if you're telling me right now that I need to start doing this and handing this out to homeless people, I'm gonna do it for His glory. So just thinking like different ways that you can start incorporating God in your everyday decisions of being a creative, and know that everything don't have to be a money maker. I think that's one of the things too. Like, we want to make money off of everything that we do, and
Let's
it's
talk
like
about that.
that is not what God has called us to do. Like, yes, He's like, that's why I said He's given us multiple passions for His glory, not just for us to just be it and be like, oh, I have a hobby, or I make money. Like, no, it's not. It's not what it is, and it's getting us messed up so much. And I think COVID was a time where everybody was just like, oh yes, this is a time I can blow up, I can do all the things, and then you realize, hey, you know, maybe that was your trial, maybe it was just a time that, you know, it was, you had an opportunity to, but that's like, God didn't ever want that for you, you know what I'm saying? So, and now you're made that attachment to like, okay, now I have to be doing it. Oh, especially, you know, if somebody sees you, or you made a cup or something, and somebody says, like, oh my gosh, you started a business, and you're like, and now you're afraid to not start the business because you're like, oh, somebody told me I can make money off of this, and it's just like, you didn't even want to do that.
Right.
So how are you doing?
That's happened a lot for me. Yeah. You have these people who are giving you maybe ideas outside of their season because you are like gifted. And it's like, when people start recognizing your gift, that doesn't mean to run on the gift. And you said something that, you know, convicted me about like not going after it for the success and the money of it, because you can start off with the motivation of like, God, I want to give you the glory. Like, I know that you've given me this gift to do this thing. But when I start seeing the fruit of me being good at this thing, the success, the exposure, the money, you start to like, you know, veer off in that way. And now I'm doing it because it gets this response versus I'm doing this because it brings you glory.
So what happens when He tells you to stop? Like,
I don't want to.
What happens if He tells you, like, to pause? Like, it takes your obedience away from Him. Yeah. Because you start seeing it as a different light. And so I'm like, some people are like, oh, God's my CEO. I'm like, is He really a CEO? Can He have those hard talks with you? Can He guide you the way He really wants to? Like, a CEO, think about what that does. Like, a CEO is somebody who can start and stop an operation. Somebody can fire somebody immediately. But if you say God is your CEO and He's telling you to do all these things, like, don't just say He's your CEO and your success. Like, He has to be your CEO in other areas too. Yeah. Has
God ever told you to like put something down or stop something that you really, really wanted?
I would say yes. Yes, He has. And that wasn't even a question I asked myself last night. I was like, when God is shifting something in your life, like, do you feel like He's disappointed you? And I was like, no, I don't feel like that. The enemy plays with me. He makes me feel like I disappointed myself. Like, he makes me feel like I did a thing, or I messed up, or I wasn't qualified enough, or it's just always a thing. And it's like, that's what the enemy do. Like, he love to put you in shame and guilt. Yeah. And I was like, I have to get over that. Like, I have to really like stop with that, because if God is with me, if God is for me, if God knows my beginning and my end, then what does that mean? And then like, how do I accept it? Like, I was like, Carra, you have to start reshaping what God says about you. Because at this point, do you believe that you're fearfully and wonderfully made? Yes. Do you believe that He knows the plans that He has for you? Because you're not acting like it when something happens. So yes,
when something happens, it really exposes where He is in your heart too. Because I've struggled with the same thing, where if something wasn't successful in my eyes, I'm thinking, well, one, you didn't give me that idea. That was probably my idea. That's why I wasn't successful. Or maybe I'm not so gifted in this area that I thought I was, because it didn't give this specific result. And like we spoke about earlier, just doing the thing alone is you're already successful, because you're already sharing the thing that's in you versus keeping it to yourself. And I've spent many years keeping talents to myself. Same. And so I think also with the confidence, there's like this courage piece too, to say that even if it's not outwardly successful, I'm doing this in obedience to God, but like, also, this is dope. What I do is good. You know,
I've always waited for permission. For everything that I've done. So like, this is like, now he's in a thing where he's like, I'm literally making him my CEO, because that's why even being an entrepreneur has been hard so far, like, because I'm like, I don't have somebody to answer to. I'm the person to answer to. And so like, for the beginning part of my entrepreneurship journey, I was a contractor under people. So like, I had retainer with clients. So I would do whatever they told me to do. So in that light, I was still having somebody to answer to. And then God told me to let that go. And then I was like, oh, So what's this? What's this? And so that's when, like, that was in 2023. And so, like, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how to operate my business now because I'm not answering to anybody. And this is like this whole God is my CEO thing really had to, like, show up because of God was like, okay, you were doing a whole lot of things, but now I'm trying to change some things. Like, you were doing a whole lot of things, but now I'm trying to lead those people. And, like, I need you to restructure what you see about your business. I need you to restructure what you were doing. I need you to do all those things. And so now I'm just like, yeah. I don't know how to. It's different, but like it's getting me to learn God in a different way as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Being an entrepreneur will do that, is what I've been told. That like you will learn to trust Him in a whole new way as well.
When somebody tells you to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you take that when it's somebody you can't see, or like you somebody who is not like strictly like you're fired? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, how do you do that when it's like God? For me, I'm just like, so you're not gonna judge it. How am I gonna know it's good, God? After all this time, I started like getting PR. Like, I was the first time like somebody had to judge what I was doing. I had to do it for somebody else. And so like now I'm having to do things and be like, oh, I have to know it's good for myself. That's different. That's really different for me. And even though I know it's good, I need somebody to prove it. I need you to tell me something. I need to do somebody else.
Validation?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy.
We gotta work on that.
I mean, that's what I said. I'm working on this one right now. Like, this is an active thing.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I need someone to tell me it's good in order for me to like be like confident and know.
Yeah.
I think as long as you continue doing what you're doing with creating space for God and like inviting Him into the process, you will start to lean more on that validation of like, I gave it to you. It's good. It's done. We can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I haven't even made it there yet. So kudos to you for even like doing that. So you spoke about entrepreneurship. We talked about It's Been God. Can you give us some lessons that you've learned with like starting a business and being a creative entrepreneur for those people who want to start a business, looking to, be an entrepreneur, be their own boss, but still surrender to God?
I say you have to have the DNA to start a business. So the DNA is the desire, the need, and then the ability to do it. So like you have to have the desire to do it. That's always a good way to judge. Like, is it time yet? You know what I'm saying? So the desire to do it, like you start writing down or maybe start jotting down ideas. Like, okay, this is my desire. God is gonna start like sparking something inside of you. Like you're gonna just start wanting to write. You're gonna start wanting to start sewing. You're gonna start wanting to do things. Like, oh, okay, and then you're gonna realize that there's a need. Like people are gonna be around you, like, oh, I kind of need this. I need this jacket. I need that. And you're like, and you're gonna have that need. It sparks your desire to say like, oh, I've been really wanting to start this thing, and I really know these people need the help. And then you're going to start with the ability, and then the ability is like, can you actually do it? So like, that's the counting the cost part. And so literally what I was saying like earlier, like the, yielding to God, like that's where your desire, you have the desire, you're like, okay, God, I'm yielding that part. And then like the need is just like, oh, okay, He's starting to spark something inside of you. And then the ability is like, okay, now you got to count the cost and see like, this is the time. This is for right now or to right now. And so like, that's the basis part.
I love that. Come through acronym.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the DNA, so you have the desire, the need, the ability. And then after that, I would say like literally make sure you count them costs. Make sure you count the costs, and then like making sure you're checking everything off. So you have the business name, you have those things, but then also thinking about like the processes. I think people don't think that all the way through, knowing like, if you have to take on the job description that you're about to start. Like if you're going to be a business owner, knowing that you can't be yourself anymore. Like, and not saying like yourself as a person, but you're literally, somebody is hiring. Your business is now hiring you to be the owner. And so taking on that mindset of saying like, okay, I have to show up in social media in a different way. I can't just like, oh, I know it's family and friends posted me at one time, but now I have this other audience that I have to start attracting. So knowing that you're going to have to start doing that. Some people don't want to be the face of their brand, and that's okay. But knowing you have to learn marketing and things like that. So just thinking things all the way through. I will say, don't be afraid to have those trial periods, because that's, what I've been teaching recently too is like, even in marketing, like if you give something 30 days, start trying to post something, give yourself a plan, and then like, okay, did it work? Did it not work? And being okay with it, what I'm saying? Giving yourself a trial period, and then, don't be afraid to figure it out in front of people.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to figure
What do you
out
mean by that?
I mean that you're going to be figuring out in front of people, and you cannot be afraid of that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things there's perfectionism. Like, we want to be perfect. We want to have all the things.
Yeah.
We want to start off with the best equipment. We want to start off, with the best quality of things. And sometimes that's not the case. And I think we've been seeing it now more than ever on social media. Like, the biggest type of posts that get the most attraction right now is the transformational ones.
Yes.
Like, seeing people who started, in their bedroom or in starting off with nothing, in the living room, period. And are showing like the success that comes from it. But like, you had to realize like they had to go through the same process. They had to be afraid. Afraid or not, but they had to start somewhere. They had to try in front of people and had to have people watch their whole process. And so knowing that you're going to have to open yourself up to that too. Yeah. And that's okay. It really is okay, because you can grow. Like, time makes you grow. Not only time, but, like, working things through. But, you have to be okay.
And people they get committed to your journey. Like, when they see you where you start, and then especially if they're directly a part of it or even just a sidebar watching, they feel like they're going through the journey with you when they watch you grow from, start to finish. But it is that feeling of like, you got to put yourself out there. You have to have this messy action. You got to show people that you don't know what you're doing, that you're still figuring it out and learning it, and that one day it may look like this, and in a week, once I've learned everything I need to learn, it's going to look like this. So that's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for the practical advice. So as we wrap up, I want you to tell the people, what is like one piece of advice that you would have given yourself in the beginning? So this is like the Carra before she was who she is today as a business owner, and for all the exposure and people that know you for who you are, that young, fresh, creative, who hasn't like put anything out yet. What would you tell her?
It's for a reason. I think I second guessed myself a lot, and it's for a reason, and it's actually who you are. And I'll say this because I'm gonna get backstory first, because I've been discovering myself lately, but who my core self is. Because my therapist is like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I have no idea." I feel like I've just been showing up in places because I've been in survival mode for so long, and I'm just like, a lot of these things, like, I felt like it just were not me. Yeah. Because like, leadership isn't me. I would always second guess it because like, I didn't see that in myself, but other people see it. But like, because I didn't feel it, I just felt like I was just living a false life, honestly. And so like, I would say like, this is you. Like, be like holding on to like what's the desires and stuff that you have, the things that you see, the things that you're innately good at, because those are the makings of you. Like, don't try to just talk yourself down from those things that you feel like you have to be qualified for. Because a lot of the scripture that's been getting to me too is that God doesn't call to qualify, He qualifies to call. All of the years I've spent so much time like unqualifying myself, when God was actually trying to qualify me. And so like, I was just like, it's you. Like, the desires are there for a reason. The process is there for a reason, and be open to it. So for those person that's like thinking like, I have all these things, like, I know, like, even if you think about even seeing people whose like success hits like later on in life, like this, they probably had the desires in the beginning part too. They had the things that they talk themselves down from too. So like, what you're feeling now is not by happenstance. It's not to just, God is not just filling your head up with silly ideas again. Like, it feel like, oh God, you give me another idea. Here we go again. It's not going to work. It's not going to do that. But like, hold on to it, because like, don't try to unqualify yourself from it. Just like, okay, continue to yield to God, submit it to God, and do what He tells you to do along the way, and you'll get there. Because I think that's just something I've always struggled with. So
And listen, just hearing that you've struggled with it before, and seeing even just like where you are now in your journey with following you have grown significantly. Like, the fact that you are putting yourself out there, and not just putting your work out there, but putting your face out there and showing up fully in the creative space, in your faith, and being a business owner. Like, you have grown from someone who was trying to please people and doing things out of fear, to now saying, you know what, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna yield to God, and I'm gonna keep showing up even if I don't have it all figured out. And like, that's growth, girl. Like, you're doing it.
Look, we trying. Trying every day.
Good. Okay, so tell the people how they can stay connected with you in your story.
So I am on Instagram, and TikTok is on there, but I don't post for it.
Okay.
But Cultivate with Carra, and my website is Cultivate with Carra. My business is claysolutions.co. And yeah.
It's Been God, is that under?
Oh, It's Been God is shop It's Been God on Instagram and itsbeengod.com. And I mean, we got lists. It's YouTube channel will be Cultivate with Care. So like, yeah, Cultivate with Care on all platforms. And then It's Been God, More Life Ministries. If you need a ministry to just come on under.
Amen. Yeah. Okay. Shout it out. That's good. Right now. Thank you so much for coming, girl. This has been really good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so dope. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Creators Loft podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, consider subscribing to the channel or leaving us a review. Your support helps me reach more creatives like you.